Hey there, my friend. Welcome back to the Own Your Good podcast. I am so excited about this little bit today. This is a not planned response to an email that I got asking some questions about owning good. How do I prioritize? How do I maintain my family relationships? Some of those things. How do I prioritize what's important? And so I want to talk about those things today. But before I go there, if you're here on this episode, that means that either you just discovered this or you've been listening for several. And if you're still listening for several, have you subscribed? Have you subscribed? Have you shared what you've heard and maybe learned with somebody else? I'd invite you to do that. I would love for you to be updated as to every week when this episode comes out. Every episode comes out Monday morning. Unless it's an unplanned one, it will just show up. And wouldn't you love to just know that if there was an extra episode on a Thursday night or a Friday night or something just showed up, that you didn't have to wait until Monday morning to hear it? More people that are subscribed, the more that it gets shown to other people. So I received an email from someone, and it was a very awesome, flattering, humbling compliment, I guess, that this person is listening, and some of the things that I think a lot of people face. So I decided that this should be an episode of responding to those questions. And hopefully this helps you. Maybe you're in the middle of something, or maybe you're trying to start something and you're struggling with some of these same things. So one of the things that, the first question that she presents is, I feel like I go through fits and starts. There are things that I do, and then I sort of get distracted by something, or I feel like starting and I get all energetic, and then I lose track of it over the weekend, or something changes and I get preoccupied with something else. And the thing that I think that I do, and I don't know if this will help anybody, but if I have 5 or 10 minutes where I'm waiting for something, or I'm waiting for someone, or maybe I'm in the process of fixing dinner or doing dishes or something that's going to take just a few minutes, but not a long time. I have a handful of people that I follow, whether through their podcast or through YouTube, that are inspirational to me. And those people are constantly sending messages of positivity, encouragement. Here's your potential. Here's what you could do. And not everything that they say is specifically for me per se, but I get encouragement and drive from them. For me, some of those people are Tim Ferriss. He's really popular for some of the books that he's put out, and his long-form conversations about basically life hacking. What can I do to be more successful? What can I do to avoid pitfalls? What can I do to improve the things in my life that I want to improve? Another guy is Gary Vaynerchuk, and he's just always saying, just go do it. Just go do it. And don't think about what other people are saying. Tony Robbins is one that I go back and forth on. Sometimes what he is saying is fantastic, and sometimes what he's saying feels like it's not where I am right now. And you got to recognize that. If somebody is giving you advice and that's not where you're at right now, don't worry about it. Don't get stuck on something that somebody is saying. There are a handful of others. I can't think of everybody's names. Some people have a lot of great content. Some people have just one or two things that have really motivated me. And sometimes those are in TED Talks. Sometimes they're in interviews with other people. Hugh Jackman had a fantastic interview with Tim Ferriss and talking about his purpose, his goal, and how he feels like he's accomplishing that. So to avoid sort of the starts and stops, the fits, feeling of excitement, and then losing that quickly, for me is just routinely, regularly consuming the things that motivate me and make me want to go more and do more. And I should say that also includes, for me personally, studying scripture and meditating or contemplating the things that I'm trying to accomplish. What is it that I really want to do, and why do I want to do it? Is it for me, or is it for other people? And obviously I don't think that all the time. When I'm in the middle of doing something, I'm not thinking necessarily, what should I be doing? I've decided that's what I'm doing, and I'm pursuing it. The next question that she asks is, how do you maintain family relationships or not let other people down because you have responsibilities for those people? And I'm guessing that that's a family like kids or spouse. And the biggest thing is that I've figured out over time, and I know I don't have the totally typical schedule as a teacher. I know the summer is off and I'm doing other things at that same time, but it's not a year-round job like a lot of people have to support their families. But the biggest thing in maintaining your family relationships while pursuing the thing that you love is making sure that your spouse is on the same page with you. They have to support you. And just as much as you want your spouse to go pursue their thing, whether that's watching a sport or watching a movie or being a part of a writing group, or maybe they want to go to the gym a lot, whatever they're doing, you need to help them pursue it just like you expect them to help you pursue it. And so when you say, I'm having a hard time, I really need to go focus on this thing, or I have an idea for a project and I need to go spend a half an hour or 45 minutes working on it, they say yes just as enthusiastically as you say yes for them. So spouse support or partner support is critical. The other thing is, depending on the age of your kids, they need to know that you're pursuing your goals and your dreams too. And they are definitely supportive, so long as the time that you're not doing those things, you're spending with them. So like right now, it's just after dinner. I've come out here to do this episode. I've got a meeting with somebody else at about 7:30. And then all the other time, right after work to dinner time, and then after those things to bedtime is family time. And there's no, working on things on the side. I'm not always good at that, but I'm trying to compartmentalize that, because then they see that you're pursuing what you love, and they are just important as that because you're spending time with them as well. Scheduling. You schedule your time for work. You schedule time for dentist appointments or doctor's appointments. You schedule time for a date night. And part of that schedule is budget, right? Just like you schedule the things that have to happen, you need to schedule the things that you want to have happen. And that's difficult sometimes because it feels like it's extra. It's not critical. It's not important. But this has a little bit to do with self-care. If you're not spending time doing something that you love, that rejuvenates you, that makes you feel better, that helps you to feel like you're owning something and making something for other people and helping other people in whatever the way that is, you start to feel burnout. And I know a lot of teachers feel that, especially over the last month and coming, that there's been a lot of stuff going on, a lot of changes, a lot of adjustments, a lot of different expectations, and it's difficult. And so scheduling is probably the most important thing. If you say that you're going to spend an hour, whether you just get in your car and go sit in a parking lot with a soda or whatever, make it happen. And your spouse and your family have to support you on that and coming to what is comfortable for you in your family dynamic. So that's one idea. When it comes to guilt, I think we all feel guilt. We all feel like there's something else that we could be doing that's better than or more important than or more critical, pertinent to our lives at home. And that could be cleaning out the garage. That could be the stack of dishes by the sink. That could be the bathroom that hasn't been cleaned for a week or two. We feel guilt because we feel like we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing. But if you believe that what you are supposed to be doing has to do with your talent or what you're good at, that's a good thing, not a bad thing. You are not shirking your duties for pursuing something that is helping you to be happy and potentially helping somebody else. So don't feel guilt for something that is supposed to be causing good. That's kind of a difficult, maybe heavy, abstract way to think about this. But if it were a selfish thing, like I need to go, and I don't know, I don't attend spas, but if you're going to spend one out of every 7 days to go to get a pedicure and a manicure and a massage, that's not necessarily bad, but it's just for you. And I might feel guilt if I'm doing just that 2 hours, 3 hours a week, every week. That might be something that you feel guilt about. But if that's a self-care thing, then you can't feel guilt about it because it's helping you be there for the people that you care about. If that is something that helps you relax and maintain your sanity, then there should not be any guilt connected to that. Now, connected with guilt is this idea that we have to balance things. And I do not remember who brought this to my attention, but there is no balance. And that's kind of a frustrating thing to think about. But as a parent, the balance is the first half of your life as a parent is taking care of your kids. And the balance is the other half of your life is when they're grown up and gone. And with that idea, that black and white idea, you can't take care of yourself while you have kids. You can't do the things that you love while you have kids. And you've got to figure out what that balance is for you. But instead of calling it balance, the definition, if you Google ebb and flow, it's not balance. It's a pattern of coming and going. There are going to be weeks or maybe even months where it is not possible for you to pursue what you want to as much, as frequently. And that's okay, because then maybe a month or two later, you will have the time to pursue that. The other side of that pattern of coming and going is the pattern of decline and regrowth. And that's interesting to me, because there may be times where you feel like you're losing it, but you can gain it back, whatever that thing is that you're pursuing. If you feel like you've lost your momentum, it can be built back up again. And that is sometimes a hard thing to accept, that just this week, it's just not going to happen. I'm going to have to do other things to maintain my well-being instead of pursuing the thing that I love. The other question is how do you prioritize? And she talks about how there are so many things that seem interesting or potentially her good, the thing that she wants to chase, the thing that will make her feel valuable and contributing and all of those things. I discovered a book earlier this summer called The Renaissance Soul. There are a couple of titles, and I'm not sure if they're by the same author or if they're different editions or if they're two different people with sort of the same concept. But this idea of a Renaissance soul is that there are people who, over the last century or so, have told us through education and through work, through our careers, that our whole job is to work for one thing for our whole career, and that's the thing that we do. And some people don't fit into that. There are some people that obviously do pursue the one thing and chase it. But I think our generation's changing some from maybe our parents' or our grandparents' generation, where you work for a company for 30 years and you get a watch at retirement, and that's their sign of appreciation to you. Where the Renaissance soul idea is that there are people, maybe Benjamin Franklin, Da Vinci, all of these, there's a wide variety of these people. You could look it up and see who is categorized as a Renaissance soul. But we know just basically from those two examples, Benjamin Franklin and Leonardo da Vinci, that they pursued art and science and a lot of different things with inventing and developing and researching and trying and drawing and sketching and lots of different things and writing. And so I've discovered that that's me. And for a while, I felt guilty as I would jump from thinking that I wanted to go to college, and then maybe retail was it for me, and I wanted to be a manager at a bookstore or video game store. And then that didn't really work. And so I pursued cooking in a restaurant industry, and that worked for about 10 years. But then I got tired of having to manage employees. And so I felt like there was something wrong with me, like I couldn't stick to something for longer than 4 or 5 years. And I felt the same way as I started college. I was like, okay, college, this is great. The second time I've gone back, I'm an adult, I can manage this. And I find myself wanting to pursue tons of different things. I'm just fascinated by so many elements of construction and woodworking and music making and teaching and reading and art and graphic design. And as technology becomes more and more available, readily prevalent in our lives, it's so much easier to pursue those things. So I pursue guitars, and I have guitars, and I love to play them. And I've pursued drawing and art, partly in high school, and then partly in my more recent graphic design interest in lettering and typography. And occasionally I'll still cook for people. I obviously cook for my family, but every once in a while I'll have this desire, or the opportunity will present itself where I get to cook for more people than in my family. And that's a great experience. So there's nothing wrong with having a ton of different interests, but I've realized as a parent that's responsible for a household with my wife and my children that I really only have time to focus on one. And occasionally I'll have time to focus on another one or two. So the drawing and the typography and the graphic design has become maybe a once or twice a week thing, maybe. And playing my guitar has become a sort of a 2 or 3 times a month thing, maybe. So obviously, there'll be some days that it's more or less, but those things just come and go. And that's okay, because my career is important, my family is important, and I've decided that the thing that I really want to focus on is helping other people discover their thing, helping other people discover what they're good at. So it's okay to have lots of interests and to pursue lots of things, and even to have different notebooks with different ideas, because those are the things you're interested in. But for me, I've just decided that while I can do those things here and there every once in a while, the thing that I'm really focused on right now for this year and possibly next year is producing this podcast and talking with people about the thing they love and helping you find that. And it's, for me, the buzz of having those conversations and answering those questions and helping people figure out the action that they need to take. That is totally worth it. And I was listening to it was a YouTube video, John Acor, I think. I just discovered him, and if I got the name wrong, I'm sorry. I just watched a couple of videos and I totally forgot. But he basically said, is it possible to do everything that you want to do? Is it possible to accomplish everything? And I would like to think that that's possible. But his response is no, it is not possible to achieve everything. But it is possible to pursue one thing, and the energy and the result that you give from that one thing, that thing that helps you, is more than enough to balance for what you think you need. And that kind of made me feel good that, okay, so if I pursue one thing, the benefit that it's giving to other people is worth the fact that it's not everything that I want to accomplish. It's enough for right now. And I just thought that was awesome. The last little bit of advice for the questions for this email that I got has to do with, well, how do I do this? And sometimes we consider ourselves perfectionists. Sometimes we know that we're afraid. Sometimes we don't know where to start. And I was listening to a book recently about excellence, and this is from there. And I know that other people have heard this story or anecdote, that there was a man who was selling the perfect business plan on the street for $25,000. He has this envelope, and inside this envelope is this plan for the most successful business. And I don't remember who it was that came walking up, but he was a really wealthy man. And the seller tried to get him to buy this for $25,000 without knowing what was inside. And so he said, I will buy it on my gentleman's promise that if it is worth it, I will give you what you ask. I will give you the $25,000. And so the guy that was selling the business plan said, okay. And they shook on it. And he opened up the envelope and he took out a piece of paper. And on that piece of paper were two things. Number one, make a list. Number two, do the list. I think the hardest thing when you're thinking about doing something and you're planning and you're organizing and you're trying to figure out all of the things that you're going to need and how much you have to have before you can start and what would be perfect to start, whatever that thing is, it doesn't have to be a lot. You don't have to have a lot of money. You don't have to have the right space. You can make it happen anywhere if you are creative. You can make it happen in your car. You can produce things on a $5 notebook. There is so much that you can do. So the first thing is to make a list, and that list should not take as much time as it does to do the list. Obviously, the do the list is the focus, right? Making that happen. So do the list. Whatever it is that you've decided to do, chase it. And if it feels right, continue to chase it. And if something needs adjustment, don't be afraid to adjust. The more that you try and the more that you pursue and the more that you adjust, the more success you will see. And if it doesn't feel like it's working, if there's something wrong, change directions. Choose a different avenue, pick a different topic, pick a different element. And that is part of what I am hoping to help people do. I would love to have individual conversations with people about what it is that they can adjust. If it's starting a YouTube channel, using YouTube videos to get your message out there, maybe it's not working for you. Maybe the process is difficult. Maybe the time that it takes to edit doesn't work. Maybe the cost of the software is too much. Maybe you just need to adjust and produce a podcast. There are a lot of things that you can do to just slightly tweak what your goal is, tweak what it is that you're trying to produce, change what it is that you are trying to put out there so that it works. I hope that, answering these questions has helped out my friend through this email. And I hope that this list of questions and answers from one that was brave to ask will help you figure out how to own your good. Thank you for joining me today on Own Your Good. I'd like to give a special thanks to Arches Audio. They are the ones that provided this awesome music. If you need anything for a project, I would go and check them out. They have a great selection of music and other services to help you with your creative projects. I hope that you found this valuable. If you enjoyed this episode and it did something for you, or you think somebody might benefit from it, please share this. It would mean a lot to me to help spread this positivity and this idea that people can change, improve, and ultimately own their good.